Shri Harim Paramanandam, Shri Harim Paramanandam, Upadeshtaramishwaram, Upadeshtaramishwaram, Vyapakam Sarvalokanam, Vyapakam Sarvalokanam, Karanam Tam Namamyaham, Karanam Tam Namamyaham. I salute Sri Hari, who is of the nature of ultimate bliss, who is the primal teacher, who is the Lord of all, who pervades all the worlds, and is the very substance, the causal material of the entire universe. You know, there was a teacher, Alan Watts. He was very popular in the United States several decades ago, before my time. But he was British, a philosopher, very witty, who taught an eclectic mix of Vedanta and Buddhism in the Bay Area in the 60s, 50s and 60s. One of his books is simply called The Book, and it's subtitled On the Taboo Against Knowing What We Are. On the Taboo Against Knowing What We Are. So there, at the beginning, he tells a little story. And I think the story is so wise, it encapsulates the entire teaching of Vedanta. What is going on here? What is the mystery of life? So the story, it's a children's story, but it's profound. Alan Watts writes that in the beginning, God alone existed, and there was nothing else. God, all by his lonesome self. And after a really, really long time of being alone, God got bored. Nobody to play with. So what could God do? God wanted to play, but there was nobody to play with. There were no friends, nothing else except God. So God thought about this problem for a long, long time. And because he is God, he's awfully clever, he came up with a solution. In order to have a friend to play with, God decided to pretend to be not God. So God is pretending to be not God. Now there are two, God and not God. And now God can play. But the problem now is that because he is God, he is awfully good at what he does. So when he pretended to be not God, he was so good at it, he really forgot that he was God. And now this not God is searching for his own real self. Not God. God as not God is searching for God, and that is the mystery of life. That's what's going on here. So our real nature is divine. Is that it's really a search for who we are. So the central teaching of Vedanta is always a search for our real nature. If that's a search for our real nature, then it should be a self-inquiry, an inquiry into ourselves. The problem is, we seem to know who we are. That if you say, you are God, and our immediate reaction is, who, me? No. I'm anything but God. We seem to think that we know who or what we are. As Mark Twain once said, it's not what we know, it's not what we do not know that gets us into trouble. It's what we know that it just ain't so. That's what gets us into trouble. Our suffering is because we do not know our real self. The solution in Vedanta is an inquiry into what we are. Who am I? I've often given talks titled, Who Am I? Until a Vedanta teacher told me, Swami, it's not exactly who am I, because who is still very personal. I'm this person or that person, who am I? But rather, it's what am I? What's my real nature? So an inquiry into ourselves, into what we are. Now, the moment we say that, and we take a look at ourselves, the answer seems to be obvious. What am I? This, here. You mean this body? I guess so, this body. And not just this body. There's something within this body, the person, the mind. In Vedanta, the two terms which are used are physical body and subtle body, gross body and subtle body. Often the Sanskrit sthula sharira has been translated by the early Swamis as gross body. They didn't know that after some time in America, the term gross would take on other meanings. Though sometimes the body can be gross. But what it means is basically physical. What we can see, hear, smell, taste, touch, what is weighed, what the doctor examines, that's the physical body. That's what we think we are. And also, within this physical body, there is also a person we feel, thoughts, emotions, ideas, desires, likes and dislikes, our own narrative about ourselves. Who am I? What am I? My personal story. So this is called the person within, the personality. And that's what most people, we think we are that. This person in a physical body. And Vedanta makes this radical claim, you are not that. You are not the physical body. You are not the subtle body, the mind or the personality within. You are the consciousness beyond the physical body and mind, acting through the mind and body. So we are not the body-mind complex, but we are consciousness which transcends the body-mind complex and acts through it. Now it's interesting to say that, but can we actually come to see it? That's the whole purpose of this. The method in Vedanta is self-inquiry, an inquiry into what we are. And what the teachers do is, they take us by the hand and try to show us, give us a series of what we might call pointers, to show us that we are not body-mind, that we are the witness, consciousness beyond body and beyond mind. Since it's right here, right now, we should be able to see it. Often the language of waking up from a dream is used. You know, in the story of the Buddha, this very interesting story, after the Buddha attains enlightenment, he is walking down to Sarnath to give his first set of teachings. And there's this shepherd boy who sees the Buddha, the enlightened Buddha, walking down and asks him, he's so stunned at looking at the expression on his face, asks him, not who are you, what are you? Houston Smith, in his classic, The World's Religion, when he introduces Buddhism, he starts with this story. He says, many of us have been asked, who are you? Very few people in history have been asked, what are you? So this boy asks the Buddha, what are you? Are you a god? He says, no. Are you an angel, some kind of angel? No. Are you a man? No. Then what are you? He says, I am the awakened, the Buddha. Meaning thereby, we are either asleep or in sleepwalking or something like that. So the language of awakening from a dream is often used. Or sometimes, just like Alan Watts, a forgetting and a remembering of what we are. That language is also used. We have forgotten what we are, we need to remember. Or in Vedanta, it's a language of moving from ignorance about our real self to knowledge about our real self, a recognition of what we are. And that is at the root of all our problems, because we do not know, that's why we suffer. We identify with the body, mind, and then all the problems of the body are my problems. All the problems of my mind are my problems. You see, what's the problem? Oh, I'm depressed. You know, I used to be so nice and skinny earlier. Now I'm putting on weight. Wait, is consciousness putting on weight? No, it's the body. You're not denying that the body needs to be fit. That's good. But it's not you. Oh, I'm so depressed. That's the mind. That's the mind. You are the consciousness which is aware of the depressed mind. You're the consciousness which is aware of the happy mind. You're the consciousness aware of the skinny body and also aware of the overweight body. So this understanding, it shows us where to put our problems. Our problems we put in ourselves, and so it becomes my problem. To put the problem in its proper place, Vedanta enables us to do that. So in this text, the first, I think this session today, this evening session is the key session, because it is directly going to self-inquiry into what we truly are. In this text, from verses 17 to 39, the whole section is about self-inquiry. Who am I or what am I? And it shows us how to do it. Before we go into it, I'll just tell you in brief, I'll just extract the essence and I'll present it before you, the exact techniques. There are a lot of these, what I call pointers, across these verses, but I have extracted 5 pointers. And these I'll share with you before we go into the actual verses. 5 pointers. What's the purpose of these pointers? To point out our real nature, which Vedanta claims that we are the Atman, the pure consciousness. To point it out so that it becomes real for us. How do we use these pointers? It's a 3-step process. When we are given these pointers, we need to do 3 things. First, of course, we hear and ask ourselves, what did he say or what did the text say? That's primary. We need to know what was just said, what was taught. Can I repeat back to myself in my own words, what is the teaching? It's exactly, what is the pointer? Step 1, that is hearing. Step 2, do I get it? Do I understand what was just said? What is the pointer? What does it mean? Do I have clarity about it? That's step 2. In Vedanta, it's called the step of reasoning. Reason it out. Look inside. And step 3, ask yourself, is it a fact? Is it a fact or is it just theory? Is it something I heard, maybe something I understood, maybe something I like, but it's not really real for me? No. Is it a fact? Step 3. Step 3 doesn't come so easily. If it did come easily, we would all be enlightened straight away. But that's the 3rd step. So when we get these pointers, 5 of them, I'll share 5 of them. There are many of them strewn across these verses. I'll share 5. When we get these pointers, for each of them, ask these 3 questions. What did he say? Step 1. Do I get it? Step 2. And is it a fact? How do I know it's a fact? Look into experience. The beauty of this path is that it never deviates from experience. It's never going to tell you something that you need to believe. It's never going to tell you, here is something extraordinary, practice for the next 40 years, then you will experience it. No. It's claiming it's here right now, we do not see it. Do this, you will see it. So here goes. I'll share the pointers with you, which we will come across in the verses, but just the gist of it. The first of these pointers. The self, myself, I always feel that I am the experiencer, and anything that I experience is an object of experience. So for example, I am seeing this book, I am the seer. This book is something that is seen. You're the seer, and you see this, the screen or the person or the book. This is an object that you see. And note here that the seer and the seen are 2 different entities. The seer and the seen are always 2 different entities. That's the essential thing to note here. Here is something that you see. I see this with my eyes, and clearly the eyes are different from this book. Those of you who attended last year's session, Drigdrishya Viveka, you know the whole teaching was about this point, the 1 pointer. The seer and the seen are 2 different entities. The experiencer and the experienced are 2 different entities. The subject and the object are 2 different entities. This clarity, and so that's obvious. Go on with it. What are you trying to say? Now apply it to the body. Am I the body? I am the experiencer. I need to ask myself, do I experience the body? Answer is yes, I do. Here is the body. I can see it. I can touch it, taste it, smell it. All sense organs operate on the body. The body is an object of experience to all my 5 sense organs. I see, hear, smell, taste, touch the body. If the body is an object, if the body is something seen, I am the seer. Remember, seer and seen are 2 different things, 2 different entities. If I am the seer, then whatever I am, I must be different from the body. Notice it in your experience. Yes, the body is something in my experience. Here is a book. It's an object. It's not me. I experience it. It is experienced. I see it. It is seen. It's not me. How is the body any different? I see the body intimately. I see it here. The tummy is rumbling. I can hear it. So all the sense organs reveal the body to me as an object of experience. This pointer is called, in brief, seer and seen. In Sanskrit, drig drishya. Drig drishya. Drig means the seer. Drishya means the object of seeing. And the two are separate. What's the point? The two are separate. Ask yourself this question. Do I get it, what is being said? And then go on to the third stage, apply it and look as a matter of experience. Is it a fact? Is it a fact that my cloth here is not me? It's an object of my experience and I'm the experiencer, so it's different from me? Yes, it's a fact. Is it a fact that the shirt I'm wearing, it's not me? It's an object of my experience, I'm the experience? Yes, it's a fact. Is it a fact that my body is an object of experience, therefore I am not the body? We hesitate here. This is the crux of that bondage that which ties us to the body. We hesitate. We say, the logic is clear and simple, but I hesitate to say I am not the body. When Swami Vivekananda's 150th anniversary was celebrated a few years ago, Wall Street Journal had an essay on Swami Vivekananda. It says the person who brought Eastern philosophy, spirituality to Western shores, introduced yoga. And then the article went on to say that many people it is in New York, many people in Manhattan going to the yoga school and stretching and all, they would be shocked to know that Vivekananda said you are not the body. Doesn't mean you need not take care of the body. Of course you have to take care of the body. And they would be further shocked to know that he said you are not the mind even. So this pointer, the first pointer is drashta drishya, seer and seen. Apply these three stages. What did he say? Do I get it? Is it a fact? All right, this is one way of looking at it. Another pointer, this is more subtle. It's related to the first one, but subtle. It's called chit jara, conscious or sentient, insentient. Consciousness and its object. Not only I am the seer, but also I feel that I am aware. For example, I see the book. That was the first pointer. Book is an object. I am the seer of this object. That is the first pointer. Second pointer says, note, where is awareness? Don't I say, I am aware of the book? On which side is awareness? Book is not saying that I am aware of you. I am aware of the book. So the seer is aware. Seer is conscious. The object of vision, the object which we are conscious of, that's not conscious. Consciousness is on your side, not on the side of the object. Am I making sense? When you look at your experience, when we look at our experience, we experience many things. Where is consciousness? It's here. I am conscious of those things. It's never there. At this point, somebody might object and say, hey, wait a minute. All these people sitting around me, I experience them, I can see them. Are you saying, I'm sure I'm conscious of them, but they're also conscious? You see, what's the question? They're also conscious. Are you saying they're not conscious? Are you saying they're just objects, they're not conscious? No, what I'm saying is very subtle. Notice what you know about them. All the people around you, you can see, hear, smell, taste, touch, you can think about them. They are objects to your consciousness, but their consciousness is not an object to you. Let me repeat that. They are conscious, no doubt, but their consciousness never becomes evident to you. You can only see the effects of their being conscious. You see them behaving, you see them talking, you see them walking, you see them behaving just like you do, reacting. And we infer that they are conscious. In fact, in philosophy, there is a whole problem called the problem of other minds. You'll have chapters in philosophy textbooks. How do we know these guys are not zombies? They could be. They could be like robots, with nothing inside, but they just look and talk like me. And it's becoming more and more complicated with the self-driving cars and all. How do you know there's somebody in the car next to you? They might not be. They just might be computers. So the Vedanta says, note that of the other person sitting next to you, you know everything. Physically you see the person, but you do not actually experience their consciousness. Their consciousness is not an object. Even if you are a telepath, even if you can read their minds, note what happens. Their thoughts become objects to your consciousness. Their consciousness never becomes an object to you. Consciousness in itself is never object, never becomes an object. It is entirely the pure subject. The only consciousness that we are aware of, interesting fact, the only consciousness that we are aware of is our own inner consciousness. True or not? You don't seem to be sure. Look around. Look around. Sights, smells, tastes, sounds. Look inside. Thoughts, ideas, feelings, all appearing and dancing before consciousness. But consciousness never becomes an object. So the second pointer is that you are consciousness, and the body is an object to your consciousness. It's not consciousness in itself. It is not conscious in itself. You are conscious of it. It is not conscious of you. That which you are conscious of and that which is not conscious of you, how can the two be the same? Sentient and insentient, how can the two be the same? Greg Good, who is a psychologist working in Manhattan, he proposes this little experiment. You can try it. To know that I am conscious of the body. Consciousness is on my side, not on the side of the body. He says, look at your hand. Try it right now. Looking at your hand, notice the experience. You feel, I am conscious of this. Our experience is not that the hand is conscious of me. It doesn't say, hello. That would be creepy. This hand is an object to my consciousness. I am aware of it. You say, so is this hand. So are the other parts of the body, the feet and the tummy and the chest. They're all parts. You are conscious of each of those parts of the body. They are not conscious of you, the self. As we are conscious of the different parts of the body is nothing but a conglomeration of these parts. We are conscious of the whole body. The whole body is not conscious of me. That which is conscious and that which is not conscious, the two cannot be the same. How can I be the body? This is the pointer. How can conscious and not conscious, sentient and not sentient, be the same thing? I am clearly sentient. The body is clearly not aware of me. A little question here is that somebody might say, but the body feels conscious. That is true. Vedanta says the mind and the body borrow consciousness from you. You, the conscious self, you lend your light to the mind, and from the mind to the senses, from the senses to the body, consciousness illumines all this, and therefore the body feels conscious. But that consciousness belongs to me, the conscious self within the body. It's not inherent to the body. So this is the second pointer. Distinguish between the two pointers. The first one said, seer and seen are different. Subject and object are different. I am the subject, the body is an object. I can't be the body. I am the seer, the body is seen. I can't be the body. I am the experiencer, the body is experienced. I can't be the body. That's pointer one. Pointer two is consciousness and non-conscious. Conscious and non-conscious, sentient and insentient. They cannot be the same. Clearly, I am conscious of the body. The body is not conscious of me. Therefore, I cannot be the body. Subtle difference, but they are two different pointers. Moving on. Another pointer. All of these we will come across. I've just quickly selected them to make it concise. Third pointer. Changing and unchanging. This is an easy one and a very powerful one. This body has changed so much. Imagine the body when it was a baby. And they almost even your mother won't be able to recognize the two photographs if they put them together. The body at 6 months age and the body at 60. They look so different. From babyhood, to childhood, to teenage, to youth, to middle age, to old age. The body changes so much. Doctors say that most of the cells, except perhaps a few cells in the brain or the nervous system, most of the cells are replenished, are changed, they die, and they are regrown, and they change over a period of several years. So we are continuously, this body is like a stream of matter. Matter entering and leaving and continuously changing. In classical Sanskrit, they talk about the sixfold changes of the body. First change, it is born. Sanskrit, jayate. And the next one is a bit strange. Being born, it comes into existence, asti. So that's the second change, that it was not, it is now. Third is vardhate, grows, matures, childhood to teenage, matures. Fourth change, viparinamate, that means it reaches a plateau. It reaches a plateau. The doctor said 40. Swami, this is a secret we don't let out. After 40, it's all downhill. I'm sorry, but that's what the doctor told me. He said, we can make sure today, we can make sure you can live long. We really cannot make sure you live well. You will live long, but may not be live well. And the downhill is just, we manage it. We manage it. We do hatha yoga, we do gluten-free, and we do so many things we do. We manage it so that we can live a better quality of life. But time is against us. The body changes and begins to deteriorate. The fifth change, apakshiyate, that means it deteriorates, declines. And the last one we all know, nashyati, destroyed, death. Sixfold changes. Sixfold changes the body undergoes. And yet, I say that that baby was somehow, I was that. And that teenager, that too. And the middle-aged person, that too. And the senior person's body, that too. And one day, the dead body, that too. I am the same person. I don't say the baby was somebody else, is not with me. I am somebody else. No. Clearly, I am the same one. Somehow, I have a sense that I am this unchanging subject in a changing body. The changing and unchanging, how can they be the same? I cannot be the body. The changing body and the unchanging self cannot be the same thing. Changing, unchanging, it cannot go together. It's illogical. In Sanskrit, savikara, nirvikara. Savikara, subject to change and modification. Nirvikara, unchanging, not subject to modification. You may say, no, but I do change. I've attended so many personal growth programs, Swami. I've shelled out lots of dollars for personal growth, so I have changed. Yes, but that's change in the mind, change in the personality. Vedanta would say, you are the consciousness now aware of maybe a more accepting mind, a more focused mind. That's your personal growth. That's the growth of the mind. That's the growth of the personality. Body has changed. That's true. Body can change and does change. So the body changes, the mind changes, and you are the unchanging experiencer of a changing body-mind. Then that unchanging self, how can it be a changing body or changing mind? That's the third pointer. Changing, unchanging. In Sanskrit, savikara, nirvikara. Apply it. What did he say? Do I get it? And look into life. Is it a fact? Yeah, it's a fact. That's true. It's been changing, and there is something that I am which is not changing. Fourth pointer. There are many of them. I'm selecting a few interesting ones. The fourth one is, notice this. The body is a conglomeration. We know this. Hands and feet and head and tummy and organs and tissues and cells, and they also have parts. Intracellular structures are there, right down to our DNA and all. So the parts, the body is a conglomeration. In Sanskrit, anekam. It has been put together. And the mind too. The mind has so many parts, memories and ideas and prejudices and the ego and all in the intellect, the different parts of the mind which are working. So this body-mind complex is, as the word says, it's a complex. It's made of a lot of moving, working parts. apart from this, what are you? The consciousness which is experiencing this complex, this body-mind complex, is it a complex or is it simple and singular? Notice one thing. We always think of ourselves as a unit. Nobody thinks of himself or herself as a committee. I'll put it to vote. No. Even people with what is called multiple personality disorder, even there, I hear they are one person at a time. They are maybe very quickly changing. But we are not a committee. We have a psychological sense of an integration as one person. Tremendous changes are there, but they're changes in the mind. So the mind is a complex thing. The body is a complex thing. In Vedantic terms, the gross body is a conglomeration. The subtle body is a conglomeration, is a complex entity. But the witness consciousness which I am, functioning through these bodies, I'm a unit, single. How can that which is a unit be multiple at the same time? How can that which is simple be complex at the same time? In Sanskrit, ekam anekam. One, many. Because I am one and the body is a combination of many, I cannot be the body. Because of one, many, this is the pointer. Let me look into myself and see that I always see myself as a unit in the midst of a complex body-mind system. I cannot be this. Though I am here, though I am operating this, though I am in this, living through this, embodied in this, yet I am not this thing. That's the fourth pointer. One more. All right, this is a cute one. It'll sound weird, but it really works. It's very interesting. The name of the pointer is outer inner. Pratyak parak, or antar bahi in Sanskrit, antar bahi. Notice one thing. It's very simple, but it's strange when you hear it. Always our senses, with regard to the body, I always feel, where am I? Out there or in here? We always feel I am in here. Unless you are having an out-of-body experience, but those would be exceptions. Normally, we are not always in out-of-body experience. So we always feel embodied in here. And the body feels from outside in, from inside out, you feel body is out. It's like a shell covering me. In fact, in Sanskrit, one of the terms used for the body is annamaya kosha, the shell or the sheath made of food. The body is out there, I am in here. In and out, that which is inner and that which is outer, if the sense is distinct, how can the two be the same? How can that which is out encasing me be the same as me, who am in? Do you see what is being pointed out? It's a simple psychological, you might call it a trick. If you look at it that way, the sense of being embodied means I always feel inner and the body feels outer. This cloth is outer, and the shirt I am wearing is inner. The two cannot be the same. Otherwise, this relationship would not be there between outer cloth and inner shirt. Similarly, I am something, whatever I am inner to the body. To the mind, notice, even the mind, if you look, introspect inside, the thoughts and feelings and emotions seem to arise, shine in my consciousness, and disappear again. I am inner to those thoughts and feelings. I am not outside them. So the witness consciousness, the self, is inner. Mind and body are like encasing sheets outer. The inner and the outer cannot be the same. Antar bahi. I think that's enough to be going on with. I've given 5 pointers. Quickly, what are the 5 pointers? The first one was seer and seen. In Sanskrit, drigdrishya. I am the seer, the body is the seen. The seer and the seen cannot be the same. I cannot be the body. Second, the conscious and the non-conscious, sentient, insentient. I am conscious of the body. The body is not conscious of me. I mean, we never even use this language. It sounds so strange. How can the body be conscious of me? Whatever would it mean? So I am conscious of the body. That I am conscious and non-conscious. In Sanskrit, chit jara. The two cannot be the same. How can something be conscious and non-conscious at the same time? I am conscious, the body is non-conscious, and therefore I cannot be the body. Second. Third, changing and unchanging. As we just saw, savikara, nirvikara. The body is subject to sixfold changes. The mind changes all the time. I am the unchanging experiencer of a changing body-mind. The changing and the unchanging cannot be the same. Therefore, I cannot be the body. Third pointer. Fourth pointer. The fourth pointer was the complex and simple. Ekam, anekam. I always see I have an identity. Even the word identity means one. So I am identical to myself, one unit. And this mind is a complex thing. The body is a complex thing of many things. It's a combination. How can I be the same as the body? How can the simple and the complex be the same thing? And the final thing was inner and outer, antar bahi. I always feel myself in here, and the body feels out there for me. How can the two be the same? And there are many more interesting ones. Let's now actually go to the verses. Verse number. Let's start with the first one, 17. In the PDF, let's go to verse number 17. Yes, there it is. You will see now what I mean. I'll chant. Unfortunately, the English transliteration we don't have here, but if you can follow me, you're welcome to repeat after me. 17th verse. Atma vinishkalo heko, Atma vinishkalo heko, Deho bahubhiravritaha, Deho bahubhiravritaha, Tayor aikyam prapashyanti, Tayor aikyam prapashyanti, Kimagyanam atah param, Kimagyanam atah param. The self, Atma, has no parts. How do I know that? Look at your own experience. You always see yourself as one. Do you recognize this pointer? No parts, singular, simple. This was I think the fourth pointer, yes. And the body clearly has parts. So many, many parts. So I am singular and one. Vinishkala in Sanskrit means without parts. Eka, one. I always think of myself as one, everyone. Deha bahuviravrita. The body is a complex entity of many parts. Tayor aikyam. The identity of the two, the one and the many, the simple and the complex. We put them together and say, I, the single one, am this complex body. How? If you put it in words like that, it sounds silly. But we automatically take it to be so. How can the two be the same? And yet we say that we are the same. I am the body. And then the author says, Kimagyanam atah param. What greater foolishness can there be there? Ajnana means ignorance. What greater ignorance? What greater confusion? What greater silliness to call that which is complex and that which is singular, call them one and the same thing. Moving on. 18th verse. Yes. The 18th verse says, you can chant after me. Atma niyamakaschantar, Atma niyamakaschantar, Deho bahyo niyamyakaha, Deho bahyo niyamyakaha, Tayoraikyam prapashyanti, Tayoraikyam prapashyanti, Kimagyanam atah param, Kimagyanam atah param. The Atman, the self, you are the ruler of the body-mind complex. Literally, niyamaka in the Sanskrit means the controller. But the reason this is not a pointer that I gave you, the reason I did not give this pointer is it's a subtle point to be made here. See, the problem with this pointer is immediately we think, are they saying that there's a little control room up there and a little homunculus, little guy sitting there controlling, pressing the buttons, operating this like a crane or some kind of big piece of machinery? No, that's not what is meant here. Niyamaka, controller, ruler, means it is for that awareness, and in the light of that awareness, that our entire life, the life of the body mind, plays out. I'll repeat that. In my awareness, in my experience, it is the light, the body and mind do their thing. In that sense, the whole thing is for me. I am not for them. It's like when we are seeing, I'm there, right? I'm there, I'm clearly seeing. Suppose, now close your eyes. Now the only difference is I am not seeing, but am I still there? Are you still there? Yes. Some of you are not sure. I'm still there. Suppose I cannot hear, it's absolutely silent, or put on earmuffs or something like that, and I cannot hear anything. I can't see, I can't hear. Am I still there? I would say yes. If I question myself internally, yes. And this works here because here there are so many yogis. If you sit quietly and calm down the mind till there are no thoughts, silence in the mind, the question would be, are you still there? And the answer would be yes. I, who notice the movements of the mind, I now notice the silence of the mind. The presence of thoughts, feelings, ideas, and the absence of thoughts, feelings, ideas are both revealed to me, the consciousness. All right. So I am there. No matter if my senses do not operate, no matter if my mind does not operate, I am still there. But now, just imagine, it can't be done, but imagine as a thought experiment, remove that consciousness. Suppose that consciousness was not there. Eyes are open, body is there, everything is there, but that consciousness is not there. What experience would be there? What would happen to our experience of life? What do you think? Just disappear into blankness. Just disappear. It will become zero, nothing. All this, the operation of the body, operation of the senses, operation of the mind, thoughts, feelings, ideas, desires, memories, their working and their failure, all of that is relevant to me, the presiding consciousness within. You, the light within, you are the ruler to whom all these are presented, and they make sense to you. This is what you are, the purpose of all of that. If you are not there, none of them would have, there would be no experience of life at all. It would fade into zero, into blankness. So this is what is meant. The Atman controls everything through its very presence, not by pushing buttons. Niyamaka. Deha niyamya, that means the body and also the mind, they are controlled or they are ruled or they are for the purpose of the Atman. That's a pointer which I had not given earlier. The next pointer is antar. Antar means inner. Do you remember this is the fifth pointer I had given? You, the self, are the innermost reality. You feel I am in here and the body is out there. So that which is outer and inner, tayoraikyam prapashyanti. People think that the two are the same. How can the two be the same? What greater foolishness? Kim ajnanam matah param. Unfortunately, we are all victims of that. Because of the Vedantic analysis is, because of this foolishness, we are suffering. So the problems of the body and the mind become my problems because I have identified myself with them. Moving on. 19th verse. Yes. Atma jnanamaya punyo, Atma jnanamaya punyo, Deho mangsamayo shuchihi, Deha mangsamayo shuchihi, Tayoraikyam prapashyanti, Tayoraikyam prapashyanti, Kimajnanam matah param, Kimajnanam matah param. Again, this is a pointer you will recognize. The Atman, the self, is consciousness. And the body is flesh and blood. By meaning thereby, it's an object to consciousness. It's not sentient in itself. The sentient and the insentient, the conscious and the non-conscious, how can the two be the same thing? I, the one, the experiencer, the conscious entity here, aware of the body. You remember the experiment we performed just now? I am aware of the hand. The hand is not aware of me. I am aware of the body. The body is not aware of me. Right now, this is one of the greatest questions facing modern science. If you Google hard problem of consciousness, it's a huge question right now. And the person who coined that term, the philosopher David Chalmers, he's there in New York University. I met him a few times at different conferences. I don't think he knows my name. He knows me as the guy in orange. Now, what he did was, he said, look, all these entities out there, the table and the chair, all of them, they have only one nature, the physical nature. What you investigate with your chemistry and with your physics, it reveals the nature of this entity. But this thing, the body here, it has two natures. One is what the doctor can examine, what the biologist can see, what the physicist or the chemist can see, this body of flesh and blood. But the other thing is what each of us, we have a first-person experience inside. The conscious experience, the living conscious experience. No other entity in the universe has this, except the living organism, especially a sophisticated nervous system and brain. How is it that a physical entity like the brain can generate consciousness? This is the question he's asking. One physical entity can produce another physical entity. But how can the physical entity called brain, because it seems to be a kind of commonplace assumption that the electrical activity in the brain is generating consciousness. It's an assumption. But this is what he has called into question. And it's creating waves for the last 20 years or so. If you Google hard problem of consciousness, it's a huge amount of literature. And there is no sign of any solution. It's getting worse and worse. I've been attending some of the conferences in NYU in their mind-brain consciousness unit. Very interesting discussions are taking place now. That consciousness is not an object. Consciousness is not part of the material order of things. This is a horrible thing to say because it does violence to the modern materialist reductive paradigm of science. And there are desperate attempts to force consciousness into this paradigm. Every now and then, if you Google YouTube and all are full of consciousness explained. And each of those cases, if you look carefully, it is consciousness explained away. Somehow, the desperate attempt is to reduce consciousness to brain states, consciousness to electrical activity in the brain, consciousness to information theory. All of them, from the Vedantic perspective, all those efforts are doomed to failure. Why do you know? Because consciousness is not an object. If anybody says, this object is consciousness, the first question that a Vedantin will ask is, are you aware of it? It's an object in your consciousness. It is not consciousness itself. All of those attempts to explain consciousness, I just listen to the lecture or read the paper. Within a few paragraphs, the moment they mention this neuron, finished. Or they mention this new theory of information theory, somehow complexity of information, okay, finished. You're again trying to reduce it to some kind of material object, which is an object of consciousness. Many brilliant persons, and we can understand their problem because modern physics does not permit anything else. Somehow you have to reduce everything to matter. There are many physicists, many scientists. I know Peter Russell was here, so they understand. Even Heisenberg and all, I think in their writings, I don't know, I'm not conversant enough. In fact, some of the most brilliant physicists, Princeton University is very close to Manhattan, Ed Witten, I looked him up. I don't know enough about physics, but they said he's the closest thing we have got to Einstein in the world today. One of the smartest people alive today. And in a short, and amazingly enough, there's a short interview with him. Mostly it's about physics, but 5 minutes about consciousness. And his answer is very interesting, coming from a completely materialist perspective. He speaks very softly. You can just listen to him, you will see that he's not an ordinary class of people. He says, I think that consciousness is going to remain a mystery. I think as we progress, we will learn more and more about the brain and its functioning, but that will not explain consciousness. And that's an honest take from a materialist perspective. So here is this question that the self is consciousness. Consciousness is not an object. Atma jnanamayaha. It's a take from the hard, I can call it the take from the hard problem of consciousness. Just because we are on the topic, one more point. There's a philosopher, Galen Strawson, he's in the University of Texas. He has written an article called The Hard Problem of Matter. I really liked his approach, a very bold, very radical approach. You know what he says? He says there is no hard problem of consciousness. And he does not mean it from the physicalist perspective. He means it very much from which an Vedantin would be comfortable with. He says there is no hard problem of consciousness. Why not? Because consciousness is directly evident to all of us. We all know consciousness. We are conscious. Everything that we do, science and religion and yoga and spirituality and atheism, all of it is in consciousness. Where else can it be? So consciousness is directly known to us. We think we generate a hard problem of consciousness because of our assumption that everything has to be matter. So somehow consciousness has to be matter, and I cannot explain consciousness through matter, hence hard problem. But he says, rather, it is matter which is the mysterious thing. He says, over the last 100 years, as physics has progressed tremendously, matter has become vanishingly more mysterious as time goes. What is matter? It's no longer very clear. As we investigate deeper and deeper, we seem to get more structure and structure. The substance is disappearing before our very eyes. Where is matter? What exactly is matter? We know behavior. We know mathematical equations. We have experimental data. But what is the thing in itself? No, it's disappearing. So he calls it the hard problem of matter. He says, forget consciousness, explain matter. We are unable to explain matter itself. So here, the pointer is, you are consciousness, and the body is an object to consciousness. How can the two be the same? That's one pointer. Another pointer is very nice. Atma punya, deho ashuchihi. You are, the word I can use, I don't know how they translated it, pure? Holy or pure. Consciousness is all clarity and light and purity. The body, frankly, is a mess. All sorts of gooey substance struggling to stay alive under the impact of enormous environmental stresses. It's a miracle. It's a very messy miracle. But consciousness in itself is simplicity, clarity, purity, light, awareness, and that which we are experiencing. It says the body is mamsamaya. It's a bundle of flesh and blood and fluids and all sorts of gooey stuff. There's a big contrast. To say that they are the same, he says, is the height of foolishness. Kim ajnanam matah param. We'll stop here. Okay, there's time to do one more, because this pointer we have also done, 20th. Atma prakashaka swachha, Atma prakashaka swachha, dehastamasa uchyate, dehastamasa uchyate, tayoraikyam prapashyanti, tayoraikyam prapashyanti, kimajnanam matah param. Kimajnanam matah param. Atma, the self, you, prakashaka, you are the illuminer. And the body is that which is illumined. This follows from the seer and the seen pointer. The self, very beautifully, in Upanishadic, very poetic language, it is called the light of all lights. One of the verses which we will do just a little later is from the Kathopanishad. The sun does not shine, the sun cannot illuminate, the moon cannot illuminate, lightning cannot illuminate. It means you. What to speak of this little fire, the fire which I wave, and we chant that. What to speak of this little fire? What are we talking about? We are talking about the inner self. But that shining, everything else shines. Tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam. That shining means you shining. You shining, everything else shines. It's not poetry. Isn't it true in our lives? I, the consciousness shining, everything else shines. Shines means is lit up by my light. All the good and the bad, all the good things in my life and all the bad things in my life, all my problems also are lit up and revealed because of my awareness. I, the awareness shining, everything else shines. By my light, tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. By my light, by its light, everything is lit up. You are the light by which the world shines. You say, no, Swami, look, these are the lights by which the world hall is shining. That is true. But if I had no eyes, these lights would be of no use to me. These lights light up the hall only because I've got eyes. But even that is not the final light. The eyes are the light of this light. And this light is the light of the hall. But this light is lit up because of my eyes. This is a new way of thinking. Now, this eyes also, these are lit up. We are aware of it because the mind is connected to it. If I become inattentive and start thinking about something else, then all the light in the world, my eyes also, nothing will help me to see because my mind is elsewhere. My mind is the light of the senses. But what is the light of the mind? What lights up the mind? What reveals my thoughts, emotions, ideas, feelings? I, the consciousness, ever shining in there. So it's like a movie. Okay, I'll take one more minute. I might forget the movie example. I came across this recently. I guess Shankaracharya did not have this in his time. The example is this. It's very effective, I found it. The movie example is this. Imagine old movies, they were black and white and jerky and without sound. When they added sound, it became more realistic, more absorbing. And now in glorious color and sound, and you get very absorbed in a movie theater. And now in some movie theaters, they have added, I heard, the Americans, whatever will they get up to next. The chair also shakes. So you're going in a car, the chair will show. You get the motion also, the physical feeling also. Not only you can see it, you can hear it, you can also feel it. Imagine now, one more unit is added. Actually, I think in Disney or somewhere, they spray. You go down near a flower and you look at a flower and they'll spray a little burst of perfume at you from your seat. So you can actually smell it. All this has been done. And now suppose one more thing is added. Suppose you could taste. There's a pizza or something there and it comes towards you, you're seeing it. Some kind of virtual reality, suppose you could taste it. All 5 senses, if they can be simulated, not too far away, but suppose it can be done. How absorbing would it be? You see what the hero is seeing. You feel what the hero is feeling. You hear and smell and taste and touch what the hero is doing. How absorbing would that be? You would almost forget that you're sitting in a movie theater. Now add the thoughts and feelings and desires and memories of the hero. You think those thoughts, you feel those feelings, you remember those things. You would totally forget that you have any separate existence at all. You'd become a character in that movie. You would need to go to the Sivananda Yoga Ashram there and learn that you are not this person. You are actually sitting in a movie theater and watching this. And yet, I am not saying anything extraordinary. Any neuroscientist, brain scientist today will say exactly this is what is happening to us. What we are experiencing is a complete reconstruction. We are not experiencing the world directly. It's a complete reconstruction by our brains and nervous systems. Doctors will tell you that. So we are completely absorbed in it. And we completely forget our nature as the witness consciousness. We are absorbed in the mind, we are absorbed in the senses and the body, and this body-mind complex becomes our identity. I am this thing. So this is what is happening to us. This is what we are trying to disentangle ourselves. More tomorrow in the morning. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat.